Hello, everybody. It has been confirmed. Obviously, you can see it on the screen. Another arrest involving the murder of FSU law professor Dan Markel. This time, as expected, Donna Adelson has been arrested. Rumors are that she was arrested in an airport. I cannot confirm that. All I can tell you is that she was indeed arrested, that her date of birth is February 5th, 1950, that she has hazel eyes, like me, that she weighs 112 pounds, a lot less than me. She's 5 foot 6 inches tall, and she is in jail. You guys can take a look at the picture a little better if I get out of it, and I'll find a way to make it bigger. But the first thing I want to say is thanks to the people who contacted me and let me know while I was feeding my son. So the thanks go to Judy from AA Legal Focus. She was the first person to let me know. And then 2 long-term followers of the channel and of the case let me know as well immediately. First, it was Kiddo Girl, and then it was Richard Hybels. And then after that, I was contacted by Susan from True Lifestyles. So big thanks to all of you. Of course, before I wanted to talk about it, I wanted to get confirmation, official confirmation of it. And I tried, and I did through different sources attempt to do so. But then the issue became moot when I was able to find this, the booking report. And now I do have an email also from Ruth Markel, and also another one from Judy. Everybody's very thrilled. I don't have the details about whether or not she was going to fly anywhere, but that is the rumor going around. Obviously, we're going to find out more about it soon. But when I heard this news, it made me think again of a couple of things. First of all, I was thinking about the beginning of the testimony of Charles Adelson when he was on the witness stand. This is a question that we trial lawyers are trained to ask our witness. We're supposed to feel our witness. We're supposed to understand what they went through, and we're supposed to understand what it feels like to be on the witness stand and have your life on the line. And so that's usually one of the first questions that we're told by amazing trial lawyers who do train others. Ask your witness, how does it feel like to be there on the witness stand with your, and I guess what you're trying to get out of the witness is, I'm nervous, my life depends on my testimony, right? And in essence, what Charlie did is he gave a partial truth when he answered that question. Because what he said was, I'm nervous and my life depends on it, right? But the truth is that the defense in this case, the defense by Dan Roshbaum and Kate Myers, was not a defense of only Charles Adelson. It was a defense of the entire group of 4 people that the state of Florida has suggested were involved in this murder, of Donna, of Harvey, and of Wendi. Now, the defense strategy was to accept partial involvement, but under duress, and accept partial involvement only on behalf of Charlie and Donna, as far as making payments. And then the defense strategy was that, okay, eventually we'll let Harvey know about it after the bump. And we never told Wendi because we knew for sure that Wendi was going to go to the cops. Now, this whole defense theory, which obviously was not going to work, and it did not work as predicted. I think that at best they could have gotten one or two jurors to go with it, but it was not believable. And to explain why this whole theory is simply just not believable, this whole extortion thing is not believable, and in essence, by Charlie losing on that defense, it was inevitable that Donna would be arrested and would be next. At a minimum, there could be more, but at a minimum, it would be Donna. I'm going to go, I think, with an example that Georgia Kappelman, I believe, used. I think it was Georgia. I don't know if I saw this on the internet or if I saw it during the jury selection. I think it was Georgia during jury selection. She gave this example to show why circumstantial evidence sometimes is stronger than direct evidence. So the example was that the mom bought a box with 2 nice sugar donuts. I guess bought it for the daddy. Maybe it was the daddy's birthday, and so they got the sugar donuts. And by the way, let's actually, before we go there, we also got to give credit to the people who supposedly first, I didn't see it myself, but I was told, first release information about this arrest. Tim Jensen and Fancy Fiction, as far as I know, were the first 2 people to shout out the fact that Donna was arrested. And then it went on Surviving the Survivor, and they had a show. I don't know if they're still on or what. But great job. It is great to see that there's a huge community of people who are involved in and are interested in justice for Dan Markel. And good to see that there's people that have good sources and that they're willing to share information as soon as possible with a huge number of people that want to make sure that every single person who was involved in a decision to use murder to solve differences in a post-divorce dispute, that all of those people face justice. So in essence, what I was trying to say is that obviously once Charles Adelson's attempt at making a defense and defend his family, his entire family, failed, any chances that Donna would evade justice, the wrath of justice, in this case, dissipated. So why is that? In essence, this defense is similar to the example that Georgia Kappelman used during the jury selection about the strength of circumstantial evidence versus direct evidence. So the example went something like this. So a mom buys a box of sugar donuts, maybe for the daddy, and leaves it at home. She leaves, comes back, and she finds her 2 kids. One is 6, the other one is 5, and they both have their mouths full of powdered sugar, their fingers full of powdered sugar. And so the mom goes to the first child, the boy, Joey, and says, "Who ate the sugar donuts?" And the boy says, "It was Annie." And then the mom goes to Annie and says, "Who ate the sugar donuts?" And Annie says, "I saw it. It was Joey." And so now you have direct evidence against each one of them. You have the testimony of Annie against Joey, and you have the testimony of the other eyewitness, Joey, against Annie. And they're both pointing at each other. And obviously the mom concludes, probably rightfully so, that they both ate the donuts, right? So you have the mouth, the face full of powdered sugar, the fingers full of powdered sugar, and that's the conclusion. And so that was an example to show, okay, well, sometimes circumstantial evidence, because the powdered sugar and the powdered sugar on the face and on the fingers was circumstantial evidence that those kids had their hands on the donuts and brought it to their mouth and ate some and got some sugar on their face. Now, what was Charlie's defense? Charlie is caught with with a face full of powdered sugar and the hands full of powdered sugar. What was the box of donuts here? It was the bump, right? And after the bump, we have Katie, we have Sigfredo, you have Donna, and you have Charlie. All of them have their hands and their face full of powdered sugar. That's why we have said, and I have said, that the arrest of Donna and Harvey is long overdue, because I thought that the bump operation was excellent in getting that powdered sugar on these guys. And so what happened was, what was their defense? Let's say that Annie and Joey, so let's say that Annie and Joey are questioned separately. So mom comes to Annie and asks, so who ate the powdered sugar? And Annie says, I don't know. I have no idea, mommy. And she doesn't say Joey did it. She just says, I don't know. I didn't know anything about it. And then later she sees the other son, Joey, and says, hey, Joey, who ate the donuts? And Joey says, I'm not saying anything until you show me all the evidence. And the mom says, okay, fine. Let me show you the evidence. Okay. So there was a box with powdered sugar donuts. There's nobody else in the house except you and Annie. Annie has powdered sugar on her face and in her fingers. And I thought that she did it. And she denied having done it. And now I come to you, and you don't want to tell me anything until you heard all the evidence. So that's all the evidence. And you also have powder face and powder sugar on your face and on your fingers. And so the little boy, who's 6 years old, this is Charlie, he's a little bit smart, and he says, so that's the evidence you have. Okay. So this is what happened, mommy. There was a box of powdered sugar, and a bad guy came into the house. And he reached into the box of powdered sugars, and with one hand, he grabbed one donut, and with the other hand, he grabbed the other donut. And then we heard the noise, and I ran towards this box and towards this guy, and I called Annie, come help me. And so Annie grabbed one donut from one hand, and I grabbed the other donut from the other hand of this bad guy, and we both pulled. And as we pulled, mama, the donut came to our face. So I got powdered sugar on my face and my fingers, and Annie got powdered face on her face and on her fingers, mommy. That's what happened. We didn't eat the donuts. We then trashed them because they were all dirty, and we threw them in the toilet. We flushed them, and we didn't have time to wash up because you came, and we didn't tell you right away because you would never have believed us. So Annie decided to say that she didn't know anything about it. And now that you have told me what is all the evidence against me, especially you don't have any video recording inside the house, now I got my story, mama. So am I not guilty? That's what happened. Where were the donuts from, though? I don't know. Bottom line is, that was a pretty funny example that I think I gained some too. Funny example from the jury selection, I think it was. I think it was a story that Georgia Kaplan used, and I thought it was very effective. It was so effective and so memorable that it stuck to my mind. Of course, I added a ton of additional sections to this story to complicate it. Her story was very simple. The mom saw the two kids with their faces with sugar, with their hands with sugar, and automatically assumed, probably correctly, that both of them ate the donuts. So let's talk about Donna, and let's talk about what's next and why now. So if it is true that she was at the airport, I wouldn't be surprised that the arrest was done now, because obviously they're not going to let her fly away if she was about to be charged with murder. So an arrest warrant can happen before there's an indictment. If there is enough probable cause for an arrest warrant can be issued by a judge. And usually you would do it on the basis of charges that will be later filed and pursued with a grand jury. And my understanding is that, yes, this week there will be a grand jury meeting convening, and the grand jury serves in Florida. They're appointed by the circuit court, by the chief judge. They serve for a period of time, usually 6 months. The prosecutor then will present cases for which they seek an indictment for example, for any capital murder case, first-degree murder. All those cases have to be charged through an indictment. Very often, if a person is known to be guilty of a murder, the state attorney will initially even file information sometimes with lesser charges like second-degree murder, for example, and then quickly seek an indictment from the grand jury and then amend, file a superseding indictment that will supersede any prior pleading that was filed. So in Florida, the state attorney can charge most crimes by what is called an information, but first-degree murder, those capital felonies are charged through grand jury. So let me see. I should be able to get this picture a little bit bigger to share with you guys. But I guess all of you also have Google, and I can just tell you what you have to do. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to tell you where to go. See, I'm going to give you the search parameters, and then you can guys go for yourself and take a look for yourself. I think that would be the easiest thing to do. So I'm going to paste it here and put it in the comments, and then you guys can copy and paste. All right, so you go there, copy and paste this right here. You copy and paste, and you put it on your computer, and then you can see the mugshot, and you can see her face of indignation. One of the interesting things that I was thinking about today is there any reasonable possibility that the extortion thing was true? Because I know that it is possible, right? The story is not. It is based on reality. So it's like the story that Charles Adelson told on the witness stand is sort of like a fiction novel that is based on reality with major changes, right? Major plot twists that are added to it because the real story would mean that everybody's guilty. So what he had to do was he had to make some changes to the story so that now they're not guilty. And now they would basically even not only would they all be not guilty, but they also would save face with those kids, the two kids of Dan Markel and Wendi Adelson, who now can be told if that effort succeeded, they could then forever be told, look, we had nothing to do with the murder of your dad. We're all victims of these horrible criminals from South Florida who overheard your uncle's silly jokes and our effort to legally give your dad $1 million so that he could travel back and forth and he would allow your mom to move here to South Florida. And they had these bad ideas and went and did it on their own. And of course, that story would never fly. I actually thought about the possibility of raising such a defense a few days before the trial started. I did a video where I was talking about defending Charles Adelson, and I came close to repeating the story that Charlie would eventually testify to, and I automatically says there's just nobody's gonna accept this. There's simply nobody's gonna buy it. right? You got everybody with the powdered sugar on their face, and I think that they prefer to make the mistake of making somebody having somebody found guilty than to let them go and get away with this perfect murder. That's my personal opinion. But again, the evidence is overwhelming and the story didn't make any sense. It was bollocks and nobody would believe it. And that's what happened. So Robin asks, do you believe Donna will make a plea deal to testify against Wendi if they offer her a deal? So I actually did a video yesterday. Wasn't it yesterday? I think it was yesterday or the day before, probably yesterday, where I was talking about what's the next move by the Adelsons. Because what I said was that the Adelsons were defending this case as a united front, at a very minimum, a united front that involves Donna, Harvey, and Charles Adelson. Whether Wendi was also participating in that is up to debate. Of course, she gave us this incredulous testimony at this last trial that she found out for the first time ever, also at the trial, that her family had been a victim of extortion, supposedly, right? Which also was totally non-believable that she just found out. If it was true, then she would have known before. So, is Donna gonna make a plea deal to testify against Wendi? All right. My personal opinion is that Donna and Harvey and Charlie have had a united front. And that perhaps the reason why they fought super hard, including filing a frivolous objection to the state's subpoena, investigatory subpoena that was going to have both of them testify before Charles' trial, right? So the state of Florida issued investigative subpoenas and was going to question Donna and Harvey just before the trial, days before the trial. And what that was going to do is it was going to solidify their story before the trial, and it would give the state a preview of what the defense would be. I thought it was a brilliant move by the prosecutors, but sadly, after Dan Markel screamed in disgust almost at the hearing that took place a few days before the trial regarding the motion to compel their appearance at the interviews, there must have been some talks between the prosecutors and Dan Markel, and the prosecutors backed out from doing those interviews. By doing that, by backing out from doing those interviews, in essence, the two Adelson parents or grandparents, whatever you want to call them, Harvey and Donna, in essence, by avoiding that investigatory interview, now have more freedom to, if they want to tell a different story and they want to create a new story that is different from the one that Charlie shared, they can do that because they have never been interrogated, they've never been questioned, they never said anything other than through their attorneys in a press release denying any involvement. My thought is that if Donna and Harvey or whoever else will be charged, let's say it's only Donna, if Donna is charged, that her likely approach is going to be either to fight the charges and to say the same story that Charlie said and said that the jury got it wrong, right? That's one possibility. So she'll fight it. The other possibility is that she will try to save her son. Because in a sense, as we all know from the evidence, Donna was probably the main motivation behind this murder because everybody wanted to make Donna happy. They wanted to pretend that this was a gift for Harvey, but really, if it was a gift for anybody, it was a gift for Donna. So Donna could have her princess Wendi back, so Donna could have those two grandkids with her all the time, so that she and her husband Harvey didn't have to travel all the way to Tallahassee so often to visit, etc., etc. So because it was done for Donna, because Charlie, if he did it for Donna, no, I don't think he did it for Wendi, he did it for Donna. I understand that a lot of people think that narcissists are never going to accept any fault or do anything for somebody else. But I think that, she's a mom, and she did have a close relationship with her children. She definitely had a very close relationship with Charlie. So I think that if she's not going to fight, she's not going to try to throw Wendi under the bus. I think she's going to just try to throw herself under the bus and minimize any potential role of Charles or Harvey or Wendi. So I would say that she would likely say that Wendi had no involvement, that she would try. I mean, obviously, the state doesn't have to accept her truth. But my guess is that through her attorneys, she either continues to fight and claim that the jury got it wrong and that none of them were involved and they were extorted, or she will try to save her son and accept responsibility for what happened and say that she was the one who prepared the envelope with all the information that was handed to Katie, that she was the one who put in the envelope that what she wanted was murder and how much it was going to be, how much money they were going to get for it, that Charlie had no information about it, and that and you know what? The problem is that so far, if you look at Katie's proffers, they're so vague and so lacking in details. Even her testimony at trial, so lacking in detail that, who knows what the truth is? We still don't have the full truth. That's why what I recommend for the state of Florida to do. This is my what I would do if I were on the prosecution team. I would listen to what Katie said in the proffers. And what Katie said in the proffers was, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I want to talk to Sigfredo. And she keeps saying that the reason why she doesn't talk is because she never wanted to get Sigfredo in trouble. The reason why she didn't talk in the first trial was because she didn't want to reveal Sigfredo's involvement and give evidence against her husband, in a sense, right? She didn't want to do that. So I think that the key move that the prosecutors can do is to get Sigfredo Garcia here in Leon County, at the Leon County Jail, keep him separate, and then have on camera, after talking to Sigfredo, and here's what I would do if I'm an investigator, prosecutors, and I'm going to talk to Sigfredo. I'll tell him, look, right now, we already convicted Charles. We have just charged Donna. We would like to be able to charge everybody who's involved in this case. You have never spoken yet about what knowledge you have in this case. Katie was trying to protect you before, but now she wants to talk. She's cooperating, but she's still reluctant. and she wants to talk to you. Basically, she wants to get a green light from you before she tells the whole truth. She seems to still be holding stuff back, maybe because she knows that you have your post-conviction motion pending, and she doesn't want to she doesn't want to speak against you. So here's the deal. We want you to go, and at least, even if you don't want to cooperate, at a very minimum, we want you to give her the green light. We'll let you guys meet in front of us, in front of the cameras. If you're willing to go there in this room, you give this woman a hug, and you tell her that you want her to tell the full truth, and that's it. And if you're willing to do that, we will be working with her, and we will seek if she actually gives the full truth, and if her full truth will help us secure additional convictions. And even if you want to actually go ahead and tell us what you know, and you have evidence against the other people who have been charged, and even somebody who hasn't been charged, we will work with her, and we will work with getting a reduction for her. We may do a very minimal reduction for you, but we'll definitely work hard on getting a good reduction for her after the fact. No promises made, okay? But the law in Florida is that if you are, it doesn't matter if you're serving a life sentence or whatever you're serving, if you provide evidence to help secure arrests and prosecutions against other people, then the judge has the discretion to reduce your sentence, and has the discretion to reduce Katie's sentence. So that's what we need from you. If they can get Katie to really tell the truth, the whole story, even if she's not believable in court, those details are helpful to the prosecution because it is coming from her, and it is stuff that maybe can really be investigated further, and there could be some receipts that they can find, in essence, right? Receipts meaning corroborating evidence. So I think that's a move that should be considered. Is it absolutely necessary? No. Obviously, they obtained a conviction against Charlie without Sigfredo, and with only cockamamie half-truth story from Katie. But it was risky. It was risky to do that. It would have been much better, I think, and I think it was a mistake for them not to have done this. They shied away from taking the next step with Katherine Magbanua, and they should have done it. I think they should have forced the issue and get her to fully testify, and I don't think that she would open up and tell the full truth until she gets approval, until she got the approval from Sigfredo Garcia. So I think that they have to work up that mess, because it was a mess. The testimony of Katherine Magbanua was somewhat believable, but had so many holes. It lacked so many details that I think it was a bit of luck that we got a full guilty without anybody questioning the evidence, because I think that her testimony was just so lacking in detail. It was risky. It was risky. I think that obviously the biggest nail in Charlie's coffin was his bravado testimony, where he tried to explain everything away and it didn't work out. And that's why we had a quick verdict. In fact, I kind of predicted that the verdict was going to be quick, because in essence, the whole defense theory was, hey, we did pay for the murder. We did pay Katie for all those months afterwards from the Adelson Institute. We did give him a lot of gifts, but it was because we were victims of extortion, and nobody bought it. So I guess the bad of Katherine Magbanua was balanced by the much worse story from Charles Adelson on the witness stand. So that's why. But if Donna doesn't say a word, and Katie testifies with such complete lack of detail, they may only have enough evidence to get a conviction for accessory after the fact, or, because if you think about it, right, after the bump, there's a couple of conversations that involve Donna. There are somewhat incriminating, but not as much as there is against Charlie. There's no Dolce Vita, which Charlie, of course, we had Dolce Vita. But with Donna, there's a lot less. And the evidence of payment from Donna is for like a month and a half after the murder. So an extortion, a soft extortion after the hit took place, is a lot more believable. You see, if the story, which is probably the truth, I think my opinion about what the truth is as follows, right? There was a hit that was paid for by the Adelsons, for which there was an agreed upon price that was probably $100,000. I think the initial testimony about that from Luis Rivera was accurate. I don't think that Sigfredo Garcia would cheat his best friend and the leader of the Latin Kings by lying to him about how much he was going to get for the hit. So I definitely think that the price that they were going to pay for the hit was $100,000, not $138,000 like Charlie said. I think Charlie was trying to mess with the other co-conspirators by adding more money and then making the others feel that, hey, I got cheated. Katie cheated on me, right? She took more money. And so that's what I think that was about. So I think that what really happened was there was an agreement, $100,000, you kill Dan Markel, we give you $100,000. And we also give you a little bit of money up front to go up to Tallahassee to scope him out for a couple of days and do it and figure out the best way to do it so you can get away with it. Then, next, what happens? The hit takes place, and it goes perfectly for the bad guys. Those two bumbling idiots were so lucky. When they followed Dan Markel from the gym to his house. They were behind him, so far behind that Dan Markel took a left on a light, and they kept going straight on Thomas Hoover Road, and they came the other way around towards Prescott. And they were lucky that basically what happened was, let me put it here. So here's Dan Markel arriving. He's coming from whatever, this side, I guess, actually. So here's Dan Markel arriving and pulling in to his driveway. And then here come the other guys, pull right behind. He's inside his garage. They pull right behind him. They got lucky. All right, maybe a few more seconds, that garage door was going to be closed. And maybe they would have given up again and said, screw this, and gone home. Who knows? They got lucky, all right? So they got lucky, and then they got away, maybe with some thanks from Wendi, who played the role of, hey, maybe I'm the wife, I'm the suspect, right? So come interrogate me for the next 10 hours while those guys are getting away. So they get away. Everything is looking fine. They get paid. They go out and buy motorcycles, cars, those two idiots do whatever, buy all these toys, have fun with shrimp, whatever. And Katie gets a little bit of money, and now it's all done. And she and Charlie have to break off, and they have to start to distance themselves because obviously they're not going to stay together after they did this together. Better to put some distance between them just in case. But then I think there was some kind of soft extortion, right? Hey, Charlie, remember that favor that I was asking for in June between the first and the second trip about putting me on the payroll so that I can get this discounted insurance? Can you guys do that? How about $1,000 a month? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Hey, Charles, my car is breaking down all the time. I need a car. Then weren't you guys going to sell that Lexus, that beautiful Lexus that your dad drives? And so on and so forth. And of course, after the Adelsons get involved in a conspiracy with Katie and with some real bad people, Katie's in the middle. They never had to deal with those bad people, but they definitely want to keep Katie happy because they know that if she ain't happy, she's got some two real bad dudes who could have some bad ideas, right? So I think that there was a half-truth to this whole story from Charles Adelson because, in a sense, I think that definitely after the fact, there was this kind of like soft extortion or, this efforts from Katie to take advantage of this huge favor that she did for the Adelsons to take care of their North Florida problem. And so now they kind of owe her lots of love and favors back, right? Because she got it all done on the cheap with two amazing guys who did their job perfectly in Tallahassee. I like this question. How far is Tallahassee from Florida? Well, Tallahassee is the capital of the state of Florida. And it is, I'm assuming you meant how far is it from Miami or from where they live. So the drive there is about 7.5 hours, 7 to 8 hours. So from Tallahassee to Orlando, with some stops, is probably about 4 hours, 4.5 hours. And then from Orlando to Miami, maybe 3.5 hours. So, yeah, 7.5 hours or so, 8 hours. All right, so that's what I think happened. I think that there was sort of soft extortion after the fact. So I guess what Charles did was he just twisted it a little bit. All he had to do is change what happened on the 18th. And now he was a victim of extortion. Just didn't work. Didn't work because it would never work. Because, after you look at those emails from Donna, after you look at all the crazy things that they were considering, after you look at a guy who's making jokes about hiring a hitman, who's going to believe this cockamamie story? Nobody. So, I'll go through your questions. Do you think it's first-degree murder or accessory after the fact? I personally think that they're going to present to the grand jury all theories, including, of course, first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. They don't have a lot of information about the solicitation part, about her being involved in that. So I would say conspiracy to commit murder for sure. So probably with her, I would say conspiracy, and as an alternative, accessory after the fact, maybe those two. I'm not sure if they have enough to charge her with murder because of the evidence against her around the time of the murder is just those phone calls that go back and forth. So her possibly talking about it with others that morning, the night before. I don't know. They might try murder. They might try it. They might. Don't know. I'm not looking into June because she's not part of this game. She's just a witness, so I'm not going to look into anything about June. I'll leave her alone. Will Donna be held in jail or will she bond out? No, she's depends on the charges, but more than likely, if she is charged with first-degree murder, there's not going to be any bond. If she's charged with conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, there is no bond. If she was caught in the airport on the way out of the country, then bond is unlikely anyway, because then there's going to be evidence that she's very likely to flee, that she was trying to flee, after the conviction of her son, etc., etc. So regardless, it looks like she's going to be stuck in jail for a long, long time. Assuming, of course, that she was caught in the airport. But even if she wasn't, yes. Conspiracy to commit murder is not a life sentence. We had a conspiracy to commit murder charge against. We have an example, Denise Williams. Okay, so Denise Williams was the first wife, was the wife of Mike Williams, who was murdered in 2000. The killer was her lover, Brian Winchester, all here in Tallahassee, my former office landlords. And so then, eventually, 17 years later or so, she was charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and she was convicted of both. So when she was convicted of the conspiracy to commit murder, for that count, she got 30 years. And for the murder, she got life in prison. She appealed to the First District Court of Appeals, and the First District Court of Appeals reversed the murder conviction, saying that she had no participation during the murder, that she, doesn't matter, that she didn't offer to pay for it. It's complicated, very complex opinion as to why they reversed. But they reversed the murder conviction, and then she was resentenced here in Tallahassee. And by the way, Tim Jensen was involved in that case. He represented Brian Winchester, him and his associate, and they got him an awesome deal. So what happened was that Denise Williams was back in court for resentencing, this time only for the conspiracy, and I think it was also accessory after the fact. If I don't recall, I mean, I may be wrong about that, but I think it was for sure at a minimum for the conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and for that she got the maximum, which was 30 years. Now, for Donna, who was born in 1950, right? So she's already 73 right now. So 30 years is a life sentence. 20 years is a life sentence, probably. So if she's convicted, she's facing the rest of her life in prison, regardless. She already should feel lucky that she got 9 years plus of freedom after her alleged involvement in all of this. So, can Donna talk to Charlie ever again, assuming they're both in jail for life? There are ways in jail that people send messages to each other, but I don't think that you get a call to somebody else in the same jail. They may see each other in different locations, but, because they're co-conspirators, I'm sure that the state of Florida will do everything possible to avoid Donna having any contact with any of the alleged co-conspirators, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to have co-conspirators talking to each other and making up plans about what to say and what not to say, right? So after they're convicted, I'm sure they're going to be able to communicate with each other and say hello via mail if they're convicted, if she's convicted as well. All right. Do you guys have more questions? I guess I should go to the bottom and then start back up. Hi, Zulu. Nice to see you. I think I've heard that before, right? Somebody made a joke that, he'll be happy when she's arrested. But they did get him involved somehow, even if it was a birthday gift for him. They gave him information about this conspiracy and he didn't go to the cops. So they could charge him as well as an accessory after the fact. I wouldn't be surprised if they charge him either with murder or at a minimum with accessory after the fact. And as far as Wendi goes, I always felt, and the prosecutors are very careful when there is a crime like this, not to charge something too small, and then because of, and then not be able to charge the bigger charges. But I personally think that she owed the duty to those two boys to protect their dad from murder. So if she knew ahead of time, I think that she had a duty to do something about it. So that's my personal opinion. Hey, Richard, by the way. So Richard was one of the people who, where is he? It's going so fast. Richard was one of the people who actually emailed me tonight and to let me know about the arrest. I had already gotten notice from Judy from AA Legal Focus, but I truly thank you, Richard, for thinking of me as soon as you heard the breaking news to let me know. That was awesome of you. So thank you so much. Let me actually, why don't I give you guys a break? You guys can look at the chat. You can look at Donna. I'm going to do a little bit of research and see if there's anything more about this arrest, and I'll be right back. Okay, so you guys chat for a little bit. Give me a minute. Hey, everybody. Yes, I did take a look at WCTV, its report, and it is say that it was the FBI that arrested her, which is not surprising because, of course, the FBI is heavily involved in this investigation. And then also that she was arrested at an airport, the South Florida airport. No more details were released so far. So here's a bigger picture of Donna. She looked like she was ready to go with exercise clothes for a long flight, I guess. Maybe she was having some sushi before, before getting on the airplane. So there it is. The defense, the United Front defense, with Dan Markel at the helm, where they tried to get away with this murder by claiming extortion, by claiming that they were victims as well of the same people who killed Dan Markel, failed, flopped, and since the defense was united in its front, now they're going to pay the price, and now Donna is arrested. So remains to be seen whether Harvey was with her at the time of the arrest. And obviously, I would like to hear where she was flying to, if she was flying somewhere, or was she returning from somewhere? I don't know. But if the FBI had been following her in anticipation of charges being filed, and then they see here she goes to the airport, she's packing, she's going to the airport. So, hey, time for that arrest. Let's see. Thank you so much, Linda. Hello. I'm wondering why such weight is given to witnesses already convicted who testify for the state. They would have an agenda and be likely to lie. You see, that is true, 100% true. But then the question is, okay, well, are we going to let people get away with perfect murders? Because, if they don't talk at all, and if they do a good job and they leave little evidence behind, and some of the co-conspirators make mistakes and they get arrested, should we completely discount what they have to say just because they were also involved? I think Georgia Kaplan made a great explanation about this issue in the closing arguments and also during jury selection. In essence, she says, look, we don't like Katherine Magbanua. We twice exposed her as a complete liar on the witness stand. She lied twice in her own defense. We were trying to get her convicted, and we got her convicted. And now she's willing to tell the truth. This is what she told the jury. Listen, you are allowed to consider all of the factors in evaluating her testimony. You're allowed to consider the fact that she's a bad person. You're allowed to consider the fact that she has a pecuniary interest, that she has an agenda, right? Like Rashomon was saying, that she would only get out of prison by cooperating with the state. You are able to consider all of that. But listen to her testimony and give it the credibility that is due. She's already going to be coming from behind in the credibility department because of all those factors that I just listed. But if you find it that her testimony is corroborated by other evidence and falls right into place, there's no reason why you should completely discount it. You're allowed to accept all or part of her testimony. You're allowed to observe her as a witness. You're allowed to make your own decisions about which one is lying. Is it Charlie or is it Katie? They both had an interest. They both had the interest of lying. So if you're not allowed to consider Katie, then why are you allowed to consider Charlie's testimony? If we're going to say that Katie cannot testify because she has an interest in lying, because she wants to get out, because she's in prison, then why can Charlie at the very beginning say, oh yes, I'm nervous. Why? Because my life depends on it. But then we're going to allow him to testify for 2 days? I mean, basically, it is a question of credibility, right? The juries are the ones that make the factual decisions in the case. They're the ones that make the determinations of credibility. They're the ones that get to see what Charlie had to say, what Luis Rivera had to say, what Katie has to say, and from all the other evidence, decide which one is telling the truth. In Florida, hi Harley. In Florida, can a murder charged defendant be convicted of a lesser included offense like conspiracy or accessory if not convicted by a jury of murder? Okay, so in essence, the way that it works is the state of Florida decides what charges to charge, okay? And they can include multiple charges. So in the case of Charles Adelson, they had several charges. They had murder, they had conspiracy to commit murder, and they had solicitation to commit murder. The decision about whether to offer the option for juries to vote on lesser included offenses. So for example, if somebody's charged with first-degree murder, a lesser included offense may be second-degree murder or a third-degree murder. That decision is usually left for the defendant. The defendant may decide to ask for the judge to include lesser included offenses on the verdict form, and that way it gives the option to the jury to convict the person of something less than what they're being charged with. But if the defendant doesn't ask for that, then the jury gets a verdict form that only has the charges as stated by the state. So in essence, it is a bit of a gamble by the defendant. The defendant may decide, well, I prefer that it just be first-degree murder because I don't think that this jury, based on this evidence, will feel confident enough for first-degree murder. But if I ask my attorney to ask the judge to put lesser included offenses, they may go for a compromise verdict and find me guilty of second-degree murder. And I don't want to serve any murder at all, so I better take a chance, all or nothing. So that's how it works. The defendant gets to decide if lesser included offenses are included on the verdict form. It's a strategic decision that has to be made considering all factors from a case. And it's a risk for both sides. The state, like I said, they get to decide what they want to charge. So the state of Florida could initially, instead of going for first-degree murder, they could have initially charged something less and then have an easier time convicting. More questions, people? Let me know. Are there any donuts left? That was a very memorable story from, I think it was Georgia. I think I got it from Georgia. I think she was doing the jury selection and told that story and stuck to my brain. Okay, please explain immunity in detail. This is something that confuses a lot of people. So I'm going to try to explain that again. I'm going to use myself as an example, okay? So let's say that the state of Florida believes that I'm part of a huge conspiracy, all right? And I haven't been charged yet. I'm named as a conspirator, but I haven't been charged. And the state wants to force me to testify as to a particular issue. For example, let's say that there are recordings of phone calls between the other co-conspirators, and the state wants to use me to identify those voices because they are my brothers, okay? So they can force me to go and testify, then I'm not going to have the right against self-incrimination under the Fifth Amendment because they're forcing me via a state subpoena, and that means that whatever I say cannot be used against me. So now I will go and testify as to those issues. They're going to show me the phone calls. I'm going to say, yes, that's my brother John, that's my brother Dan, blah, blah, blah. And I'm done, and I'm out of there, right? Maybe in the cross-examination, the defense attorney may ask me questions about my involvement and whatever. Whatever I say at that trial cannot be used against me. Can I still be charged in that conspiracy even though the state forced me to testify and in essence waive my right against self-incrimination during a trial? Yes, I can still be charged. That immunity is use immunity. It means that whatever I said at that trial when I was forced to talk cannot be used against me. However, if the state or the feds have independent evidence that they acquired against me and they had decided not to charge me yet when they forced me to testify, but then later they change their mind and they decide to charge me, they can do that. The only thing is that I'm going to have a defense. I'm going to say, hey, wait a second. They forced me to testify, and now whatever evidence they have to show that they got it from independent sources and they didn't get that evidence from my testimony. And so now the state or the feds, whoever is the charging authority, they have to establish with the court that the evidence in support of the charges is independent of whatever I said in my forced testimony. So, of course, if all the evidence is from before I was forced to testify under state subpoena, that's easy, right? They can just prove that all the evidence is from before. Now, what if I go and I testify and I say some things that gives the investigators ideas of new avenues to look into, and now they find new evidence against me? Then they cannot use that evidence against me because they obtained it as a result of my statement. And so one of the reasons why prosecutors don't use that power so often with people that they believe were involved in a crime is because they don't want to mess it up. They don't want to create this messy situation where they later have to prove that they obtained the evidence independently. So in the case of Wendi Adelson, Wendi testified in two trials, one in 2009, no, three now, one in 2019, one in 2022, and one in 2023. Now, before she testified in 2019, the state of Florida already had a ton of evidence that could be used against her. They already knew all the stuff about her driving to the scene. They knew about the bullet bourbon. They knew about, what are all the pieces of evidence against her. The fact that she talked to Charlie that morning, that she was supposed to meet with Dan Markel that morning after avoiding him forever, all those different things, the fact that possibly her ex-boyfriend was set up, the fact that she told her ex-boyfriend a few days before the murder that her brother had looked into hiring a hitman, that he considered all options, all of that their state already knew, right? So if there is new evidence against her acquired after 2019, if Wendi is ever charged, her attorneys will argue, wait a second, you didn't charge her before. You didn't charge her in 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, after she testified twice, 2020, 2021, 2022. Now it's 2023. She already testified 3 times. You haven't charged her before, and now all of a sudden you're going to charge her? Well, what new evidence do you have? And let me see that evidence. And then why don't you prove to me that this is not evidence that you acquired as a result of her testimony at those 3 trials? Obviously, it is an additional burden, an additional hurdle that the state has to overcome, right? Because they have to show that they didn't get this new evidence as a result of her testimony. But if we remember, all her testimony is, I wasn't involved. I don't think my family was involved. And then the last trial was, I just found out that my family was extorted. I didn't know that And I still don't believe that my family was involved. And I'm so glad that the killers have been arrested. So she has never gave any kind of confession or gave any kind of information in any of those 3 trials that would lead to additional evidence against her. Nothing that I can recall. So I'm sure that whatever new evidence, if any, they have against Wendi, if they ever get additional evidence and they decide to charge her, would be easy to prove. It would be easy to show that it did not come from her testimony. So now, for example, let's talk about something that could mess things up a little bit, right? The state of Florida was using this whole Bouliette, the fact that she bought the Bouliette bourbon, as evidence of her involvement, right? She's buying the celebration she's buying a drink named Bouliette when her husband was just shot with 2 bullets. And she testified, she was questioned about it, she testified, and she said who told her what, and so on and so forth. So if they had never done any investigation into the Bouliette about who or what, whose invitation was it, whose party it was, so on and so forth, and then she goes to the trial, and then she testifies, and she says, oh yeah, it was my friend, the mortician, she was having this, I guess she was going to get married, and she was going to have a stock the bar party, and I had a list, and in the list I was the one who was supposed to buy this drink, and I had to do it that afternoon because the party was that evening, and so this is just one bad, horrible coincidence, blah blah blah. So now the investigator says, maybe we should have asked this lady and whoever and so on and so forth about it, and then let's say they go and investigate. And then they find out now, 10 years later, that Wendi has suggested that drink, and that she told her friend, hey, put that, as their draft in the list. She says, put Bouliette and put me on it, I'll buy it. Let's say this is hypothetical, right? So let's say that something like that is a new piece of evidence that the state has against Wendi. Now, what's going to happen? If Wendi is charged, Wendi is going to argue, hey, wait a second. You guys had all this time to investigate. You never had that piece of evidence. But now that I brought it up in my forced testimony, when you forced me to talk, and I said who was the person who invited me, and I explained the circumstances, so on and so forth, and now you go and get it? Well, that evidence, I'm sorry, you cannot use it against me because you got it as a result of my testimony that was forced. She may have a good argument then that if they had never investigated that before, and then she testifies and she talks about this email that she got, and they never followed up on it before, but now they follow up on it because she said she gave a very reasonable explanation. So I hope I answered your question about immunity and covered all the details. We don't know the details, Bibi, whether she was leaving the country, where she was going, but I think it is a safe assumption that she was on the run. She was like, I'm going to take my last vacation. You know what the stream needs? More ads. What? Are you getting a lot of ads? I'm so sorry. Let me go take a look at how Ladybug set it up. She sets it up, so I need to check and see, did she put it aggressive or what? Because I always tell her not to do that, but she may have put aggressive on it. Let me see. No, it's medium balanced. Okay, so is medium balanced horrible? Why don't you tell me about it? Zulu, please answer me this question. How many ads are you guys getting? Because I don't want you guys to be bombarded with ads. I want it to be reasonable, like once every 15 minutes or so. And now YouTube has completely changed the whole system for setting up the ads. Now you no longer have to go and put it like yourself, but you just have to put medium ads or minimum ads or whatever, and then they decide where to put them, whatever. Of course, that's the best thing. You guys go ahead and buy YouTube Premium, and then you don't have to deal with any ads, and we get a small amount of money from YouTube for your viewing. So I see people that are not complaining about ads. Moments is saying I get an ad about once every 10 minutes. Thank you, Moments. Lucy pays for YouTube Premium, so she doesn't get any ads. Cool girl. We don't know those details yet, and I may take another break and go and see if I can do a little more research. So we don't have those details yet. Let me go ahead and do that. Let me go ahead and actually go and take a look and see if my friends at the Tallahassee Democrat have gotten some more details, because I'm here in the office talking to you guys, so I'm not out there investigating for more details. So give me a couple of minutes. You guys enjoy each other's company. I'm going to share this thing again. Where is it? I'll share the beautiful picture of Donna Adelson. I'm going to go on mute, and I'll be right back. Okay, so the news that I saw indicated that she was arrested at the Miami International Airport, which of course serves both domestic and international flights. So that doesn't tell us whether she was leaving the country, but my guess is that she was leaving the country, and that's why the FBI took action, because obviously if she was flying within the United States, why would they need to do the arrest? So let me see. Lucy, oh, that's amazing. She gifted 5 Deep Dive True Crime memberships. That's so awesome of you, Lucy. Thank you so very much. John Smith, thank you so much for your donation. You say thoughts on this one. Okay, one. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like this approach at all. In particular, I think I can understand going up the ladder in a sense, and going and waiting perhaps to see if you can get the middle woman or the killers to cooperate against the people who order the hit. Sure, that makes a little bit of sense. But after the bump, there was pretty strong, almost overwhelming evidence against Donna and Charlie. So my opinion is that The charges against Donna are long overdue. She should have been charged together with Charlie, in my opinion. Now, as far as Wendi goes, I think it is a much closer question. I personally have shared my opinion in evaluating the evidence that she was involved. That's my personal opinion, that at the very minimum she knew and had some light involvement. Obviously, some people believe that she was the true mastermind, and we don't have a lot of evidence of that exactly. I mean, there's some evidence that may support that, but not all of it. I mean, not a ton of it. There's a lot of people that think that she was the main mastermind and that she was capable of doing something like that. But I don't know. Her family treats her as always seem to have treated her as a immature person. And whether she's capable or not, I don't know. The French Bull doesn't think she's capable. French Bull is a cool guy that I play tennis with. He's from Paris, France. And he doesn't think that she was the mastermind. I know some other people that are close to me that don't think that Wendi was involved. They think Charlie was the mastermind and maybe Donna was involved, but not Wendi. I am looking at all the evidence. I've done a video just a couple of days ago, an update video. It was over an hour long where I discussed the case against Wendi. You can go check it out. I'm not going to repeat myself. I think that there is evidence against her and showing involvement and showing knowledge. So I have discussed it already in 2 videos, one in 2020, one just 2-3 days ago. So I guess you can go watch those videos. John Smith has a good question about why Surviving the Survivor has so many more viewers than Mentor Lawyer. I would never know how. I've been on YouTube for a long time, and I can tell you that trying to figure out the algorithm and how things work, it's really almost impossible. I have a daughter who has almost 2 million subscribers who sometimes she publishes a video and she's like, what the heck's going on? Okay, nobody's watching. I can tell you that I have suspicions about, why for that question. I mean, they have an amazing artist doing awesome thumbnails. They have really cool guests. They have a good show. They have a different style, totally different style than I do. Obviously, when you come here, you just hear one guy's take, one guy talking nonstop. Over there, it's a lot more interesting because you have one or two people, right? You have Joel or Carm asking cool questions, and you have all these guests. So maybe it's not as deep as one person who is deeply involved in the case and is deeply evaluating everything, giving a full analysis. It is more sound bites and more, questions that are geared to address those things that you guys really want to talk about. So I think it is, they're obviously more concerned with doing it as a business, as a successful YouTube channel that has huge success. They're doing a good job. They have a lot of good guests. They have good questions. They cover lots of cases, and their format is different than mine. And so obviously you may have, for example, factors could include the fact that you may have a lot more people donating money over there, and YouTube gets a cut on every donation, right? So if you come to my channel and everybody sees Mentor Lawyer and they think, oh, lawyer makes a ton of money, I'm not giving a penny to this guy, blah, blah, blah. All right. And that's fine. That's totally cool. And then I get 5. Here's John Smith. I get $10 on a 1.5 hour video. Let's say I get $15 donated, which I appreciate every single dollar. It goes to help me with the costs and the expenses, including having an employee now in Ladybug, versus another channel that maybe has $10 every 2 minutes being donated. So who do you think the algorithm is going to push? If you have somebody that is getting a ton of donations versus a guy who's getting no donations at all, or he's getting $10 here, $5 there, I guess he's going to push that channel. So like I said, yeah, I think that's a very good point, Enigmata. For STS, YouTube is his job. He's doing YouTube. He's also, by the way, Joe is also doing not just YouTube, but also podcast. They also have a producer. They come from a major media history, right? So they're media people. That's their job. They're creating a business. They're creating a channel that is supposed to be successful and viable and employ serious people and compensate them, right? Versus me, who I'm a full-time lawyer. In fact, tonight, I actually have an answer to a 43-page complaint that I got to work on that case that I have in Orlando that I'm going against Holland and Knight. I have an appellate brief due by next Monday. I have a mediation tomorrow at 1 p.m. And so in between all my business and my tennis, I come into you guys and I throw in some content, which I think a lot about. I spend a lot of time thinking about it, but I'm always squeezing it in unannounced when I have a moment. That obviously harms the performance of the channel. There's so many things that I do that I know harm the performance of the channel, right? So I may rush a video because I'm excited. I want to release it. And then people complain, oh, the sound is horrible. What I can hear is too low, whatever. And I go, oh, shoot, I forgot to increase the volume when I was editing on my phone. So let me go ahead and redo it. I re-edit, I increase the volume, I publish it again. And now I have 2 videos that are identical on the same channel. And people think, what is wrong with this idiot? There's always issues in this channel, because this is not my business, right? This is like my side gig where I'm really, I guess I never thought about this as a full business. I thought about it as, hey, that's something a lot more interesting and exciting than some of my legal work. And I loved, I think I got hooked on it, honestly. And we're getting off a little bit from Donna Adelson, and I guess that's okay. Let's talk a little bit about Mentor Lawyer and how he got started as Mentor Lawyer. I got hooked on doing this by working a case. I was defending the homeowners association that was sued in the case regarding the murder of Samara Fresh. I represented the HOA. The complaint was filed by the state of Samara Fresh through some local lawyers, and in the complaint, they were arguing that the homeowners association was negligent in allowing the doctor to come into his own house because the couple had been going through a divorce, supposedly. Well, they were going through a divorce. And there was an order that gave custody of the home, of the marital home, to the wife. And yet, on the night in question, the wife came, the husband came behind her. There's a security gate. This is like very expensive community with doctors and judges and lawyers. And he was able to go in, and then he murdered her. And so they sued the HOA. And so that's how I took my first deep dive in a criminal case, because in defending the HOA, what I did was, I'm a former prosecutor, okay? But I was a prosecutor a long time ago as an assistant statewide prosecutor, doing mostly white-collar crimes. Even before I was a prosecutor for a little bit of time. I did some, I was in a small firm after I left the corporate firm that I started with. I was in a small firm, and in that small firm, they allowed me to do some conflict or excess criminal appeal work for the public defender's office. So I've done multiple criminal appeal for defendants in my first 2 years of my career. And then maybe 2 years into my career, I became an assistant statewide prosecutor. I love that work. But then I went into civil practice, and I was doing personal injury cases, defending them, and, making some decent money and raising a family. And it was pretty interesting, but not super exciting. But then I got that case of the murder of Samara Fresh. And I was a partner in the Tallahassee office, so I obviously assigned that case to myself. And I got involved in it, and I did a deep dive. I requested all of the criminal records from the state attorney's office, from the sheriff's department, and I went through everything. And I was getting paid by the hour, not me, my law firm. So that gave me the opportunity to go through everything, all the interviews, interrogations, and I was fascinated by the investigation, the work, the hard work that the law enforcement did to seek justice for this woman. She was an immigrant from Africa who came from Paris. She was working in Paris when she met Dr. Fresh, and then she came here with Dr. Fresh, where after they married, they had 2 kids, and he killed her. And I was very proud of our local law enforcement to investigate this so deeply and to do everything possible to hold a rich white doctor accountable for the murder of an African-American, well, not African-American, she was an African Black immigrant. I thought that they really they went all out. They did everything possible to investigate this murder. They arrested Dr. Fresh. They kept him in jail. And Georgia Kappelman did an amazing job at the trial. Now, throughout this whole investigation, I was involved because I was doing a collateral investigation myself to find out not only whether there was any negligence on the part of my client, but also who was the killer. And I actually indeed talked to both the defense attorney and to the prosecutor, Georgia Kappelman, before the trial. And that was the first time I think that I talked to Georgia Kappelman was in the Samara Fresh case, when she and Jason Newland and then one of the other prosecutors in their office, all 3 of them called me at different times and asked me a few questions because they knew of my deep involvement and the deep investigation and everything that I had done in anticipation. And I also had some contact, I think, with Georgia Kappelman about this whole deal where some local attorneys helped the killer, Adam Fresh, collect the $1 million life insurance benefit on the victim, which was like, how can they possibly allow this guy who's waiting for trial on murder to profit from the murder he likely committed? But it was done. So then I watched the trial in the state of Florida versus Dr. Adam Fresh on YouTube. I didn't go in person. I watched it on YouTube, and I tried to participate in the chats. And you can imagine, I mean, I had a lot of knowledge about that case. I think it was in that chat. Yeah, it was in that chat that I participated. Or maybe it was in the Denise Williams trial. I'm not sure. I think it was Samara Fresh that I tried to participate in the chat. And immediately, because I had so much knowledge and I was sharing really good commentary on their chat, I think whoever it was Court TV or Law and Crime Network. I don't know who was publishing it, but they shut me off the chat. So nobody could see me chatting there. And then I said, well, I'm going to just do my own channel and I'll find ways to publish trials on my own, and then I'll do my own commentary, and nobody can shut me off. So that was kind of like the start of my idea to do Mentor Lawyer. Because before then, I had already started doing some tennis videos for fun, and I knew that YouTube was an amazing, had an amazing potential, because I saw my daughter, who was in high school and who started a channel and was super successful within a couple of years. And so that's the origin story of Mentor Lawyer. So bottom line is this. Thank you so much, Gerard. Thank you so much, Mother B. I really appreciate it. Oh my, you guys are now being so generous. I guess because I mentioned how nobody, I wasn't doing it for that purpose, but I do thank you guys so much. I do appreciate it. And I will keep this format. Thank you so much, Mother B. Thank you, Molly. Thank you, Nan. And I will keep the deep dive format for sure. And thank you so much, Ryan. You guys are awesome. So anyway, I think that this is a night to feel some satisfaction. I think, as always, I always feel sadness when I think about this case, because I don't doubt that Donna loved her kids and really wanted to have Wendi back at home. But I always remember also another saying that I heard from a woman who had a lot of troubles with her mother-in-law. And the saying that she said to her husband was always, "The road to hell is paved with good intentions." So maybe there was some good intention in bringing the princess back to South Florida, but in the process, they went to hell. They picked the hitman option, and hopefully everyone involved in picking the hitman option will pay the price, will be charged, and will be facing a jury of their peers. And then let's see what the jury does. But they should be charged, and the cases should be prosecuted against everybody who was involved. And I personally think that there is evidence of the involvement of Donna, Charles, and Wendi. Not so much Harvey. Maybe Harvey definitely should be charged as an accessory after the fact. But I think that Wendi had some involvement too. That's my personal opinion based on my analysis that I've done in several videos. So 2 at least, 1 just a few days ago. So if you want to go check out my analysis, you can go there. I think it's called The Case Against Wendi. And then leave your comment and let me know what you think. I know that there are good arguments to make against her involvement too, and I will always consider whatever arguments you have that you want to make in favor of Wendi, and I will give you my honest and reasonable and logical assessment of whatever you propose. I don't disclose, this is a good question, I don't disclose my daughter's channel because a lot of people know my name, and my daughter keeps her identity secret. So I don't want to say anything other than the fact that she has almost 2 million subscribers, but that's it. And if you ever know which channel it is, I ask you to please not tell her that you know me. She's an amazing young lady, and it's a wonderful channel that is about good in the world, the goodness. So she balances that out. I talk about the bad, and she presents the good. So there's no doubt that I agree with you, Veronica. I mean, there's no doubt that Donna was a horrible mom. She was horrible to her son, Robert. who was in love with a woman and was kind of guilted into marrying someone else, and then later realized his mistake and fixed it. Donna was a nightmare to Wendi and to Charlie by making them feel horrible about her pain of not having her princess close to her. So, hi, Matt. Nice to see you, my friend. Matt, by the way, played the role of Dan Markel in the movie that I made called The Hitman Option, that is still in the works. I've already published parts 1 and 2, so you can already see Mr. Matt as Dan Markel in a movie that we were recreating the divorce deposition of Wendi Adelson back in 2013. I had a question on the line here. Mel, do you think Donna will go back to Rashbaum? Well, obviously they were a united front before, and that's why there was no conflict of interest in a sense, right? Because the united front was that Donna, Harvey, and Charles were gonna say that they were extorted. And there is a possibility they're gonna stick to that story. And if that's their story, possibly Rashbaum could be involved, but I think it becomes a lot more risky now because of the conviction of Mr. Charles Adelson. I think that he owes a duty to his client to look into possible deals, to do whatever in his defense. So I think it becomes a lot more problematic now that there was a conviction of a client that he represented. Plus, he lost. So if they still have money to subsidize a new team of lawyers, my idea is that I think it's unlikely that they're going to keep this lawyer who appeared at the last couple of hearings about the investigatory interview, because personally, I thought that she did very poorly, that she was trying to deceive the court in her objection to the subpoenas, that she failed to cite to the court a case that is binding on the court, that showed that her arguments was pretty frivolous. So that attorney did a horrible job for Harvey and Donna. And I would be very surprised, especially because of how badly she was scolded by Judge Everett at the hearing. I would be super surprised if that person stays on the case. I think that they're going to try to find somebody else to represent her if she's going to fight it. Now, we don't know if she's going to fight it. I think that there's, like I said, because of the fact that the state of Florida didn't do those interviews, it leaves open for Donna the opportunity to tell a different story. That means if she's going to go with a different story, different than the one that Dan Rashbaum presented through Charles Adelson, there's absolutely no chance that she's going to use Dan Rashbaum, right? Because he cannot present the testimony of one witness to say something totally contrary to the other witness. I mean, it would be just a total mess. You'll have to go with a different lawyer. She will have to go with a different lawyer. And we don't know what that story is going to be, what her story is going to be. But there is a chance. There's a chance that she will try to protect Charlie, and it will try to minimize his role. Will try to say that Charlie was only helping her find somebody to rough up Dan Markel, and that it was her idea to ramp up the deal with these bad people. And in the envelope, she put something in there without his knowledge that they were supposed to do to kill the guy. They were going to get $100,000, and that then she was the one who had the cash. She washed it at home. She brought it to Charlie, and that Charlie stapled it and paid it, but he thought that he was paying for a rough-up job. Well, no, because he already knew that Dan Markel had been shot. So then Charlie went along after the fact because he thought, well, I'm already too deep. I already have set this whole thing up. Charlie never really intended for them to be murdered, but by that time, the hit already happened. So he went ahead and did pay the staple money, but that's the reason why he was completely out of whack. That's why he took the Xanax. That's why Katie, when she arrived, she saw him in all disarray. It will all be because Donna did this whole thing herself. It will be because she put those papers together for the killers, and that she was the one that changed it from roughing up to murder. And she was the one who said $100,000, and she was the one who brought the cash to his house and dropped it off. And she was the one that washed the money and in essence tried to save Charlie. Is that going to happen? Okay, of course, most people think no. Most people think that she's just going to deny an involvement and argue that the jury got it all wrong, that they're all innocent victims. What do you think? Am I full of BS? I mean, I'm just talking about possibilities here. Obviously, I cannot tell you what's going to happen for sure, but that's a possibility, right? That she's going to try to minimize her son's role so that he doesn't get sentenced to life and he gets a chance at life again. And definitely she's not going to say that Wendi was involved because she wants to save those sunshines. And at least if the whole family cannot save face with the sunshines, let Wendi at least save face and say she wasn't involved. And it was just crazy grandma. Right? It was just crazy grandma. The crazy grandma, by the way, who spent every single day, hours per day with those kids. Just sickening, right? Don't steal my sunshines. That's right. So speculation for now. Possibilities are that she's going to fight it or that she's going to accept, plead guilty. She could do that and not say anything. Just do a guilty plea and then ask for the mercy of the court, right? Without a deal. She could try to deal through her attorneys. We'll see. All right, guys. So should I get back to work? I mean, I've got to go against Holland & Knight. They're a huge law firm. They're one of the best law firms in the world. They wrote a beautiful 43-page complaint. Let me go get it so you see that I'm telling you the truth. I took it home. I was going to work on it at home. But instead, I'm not going to show you the actual documents, but here's the complaint. It's called First Amendment Complaint, and it has here, I can show you the last page. There. 43 pages. So there we go. And then, of course, there are exhibits to the complaint. Exhibit A, Exhibit B, whatever, tons of exhibits. I'm supposed to do this tonight. So there's 1,500 of you guys here hanging out with me. So I can either hang out with you or I can start working on the answer to the amended complaint. What do you think? I think I'm going to hang out with you guys a little more and maybe just not sleep tonight. Although tomorrow I have a mediation at 1. And I do have soccer in the afternoon. So I do want to hang out with you guys. Oh my, use ChatGPT to write a response. You know what? Actually, there's lawyers that are using artificial intelligence now to do a lot of things. One of the things I saw today, there was a post on LinkedIn. I don't do LinkedIn a lot, but it just popped up. So there's some attorney in South Florida that wrote this post about using, one of those programs. He called it LLM, where you would just use the program to help you prepare the questions for the cross-examination of an expert witness. And so he was saying, what do you input into it so that you get the best questions? Oh, wow. Interesting. Make sure it's a 4.0. Somebody got ChatGPT to write a will. Yeah, I mean, the world is changing now with this whole thing. But I'll tell you what, I tested ChatGPT with Ladybug several times. And every time, as a knowledgeable attorney, I would ask questions. I'll say, hey, let's ask questions about the Dan Markel case, for example, about things that I would know a lot about, or about law cases, whatever, that I know a lot about. And every single time, it was completely full of mistakes. And unless you know, you're not going to recognize it. So that's the problem with ChatGPT and all the other artificial intelligence, is that if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know that the response you're getting is wrong. That's why it's not a complete substitute. I think it has some uses. And obviously, if you're a very smart lawyer and you put the good inputs, you may get a quick draft that you can then modify and customize and use your intelligence to improve. So it may be a good starting point, but it should never be a finishing point. So I would be very worried if I wrote my will on ChatGPT and didn't consult with a good lawyer that knows what they're doing. Like, for example, does ChatGPT tell you, whether a provision is accepted under the law of the state or not, or whether, how do you sign a will to make sure that it is accepted by the court? There's a lot of issues that you're probably not going to get on ChatGPT. Shannon Ellison, hi, nice to see you again. Katie being returned to FSP, to Florida State Prison, seemed to hint there would be more arrests, or else she would have been kept in jail for resentencing. Well, I think the last time I checked, she was not sent back to prison, and she could have been kept in the jail, for example, if in the grand jury proceedings they were going to present her testimony, although they probably didn't have to use her testimony. They already have her proffers. In a grand jury proceeding, you really don't need to use her. So I don't think that they really need to keep her around for that, but possibly could. I don't think that. I think it's a good question about what is the state of Florida going to do with Katherine Magbanua. And I'll tell you what. The first thing that is obvious by watching the testimony of Katherine Magbanua trial and the proffers that I published on my channel is that she's still not 100% forthcoming and truthful and honest. She's still protecting somebody. She's still not telling the full truth. So that's a big knockout against her. Now, she testified at the trial and helped secure the conviction of one of the co-conspirators, Donna Adelson. So now she has done something that can be put in front of a judge, and a reduction could be sought at this time. But there's absolutely no rush with Katherine Magbanua. She has a life sentence, right? And the state is not done prosecuting the case. The case has zero interest. The state of Florida has zero interest of going now and asking the judge now to get a reduction for Katherine Magbanua. They're going to wait until they feel that they're done with all prosecutions, all trials, all convictions, that's when they're going to go and decide, okay, has she helped? And how did she help? How substantial was her help in getting the convictions, the new arrests, etc., right? So, for example, did she say? And we are reanalyzing, because I watched some, not all of this, hours of her talking in those proffers, and I didn't listen to all of it yet. But every parts that I listened are extremely frustrating. She's not answering questions. She's not saying almost anything. Okay. Obviously, eventually she did say something, because otherwise they wouldn't have put her on the witness stand. And obviously I did watch her entire testimony on the witness stand. And again, it was very, very lacking in details about what happened around the time of the murder. Completely irritating, like Mimi says. Irritating watching her in the trial, irritating watching her, the portions that I watched of the proffer. Yeah, and like, yeah, in the first proffer, no doubt that she's still denying a lot of the stuff. Maybe she comes to terms and starts to admit something towards the end of the second proffer, but she's still not being truthful, not being fully truthful. So I don't think that her testimony had a huge positive impact in Charles Adelson's trial. I don't remember her saying anything about Donna, although she does question how come the rest of the family hasn't been arrested. She's so vague and so like, oh, I don't know anything, still, even in the proffers, that it's hard to say that whatever she's giving is useful for anything. You know, it was used at the trial. So now there is, at least she has a little bit of hope that she's not going to get out of jail of prison in a coffin. But I personally think, I said this earlier in the video, and I'm going to repeat myself, but maybe some of you guys were not here. Hi, T.S. Jackson. Nice to see you. But I think that the state of Florida needs to get Sigfredo Garcia to give Katie permission to talk. See if Sigfredo will also talk. I mean, I think it's horrible to make any kind of deals with the killer, the actual killer of Dan Markel. And so that's a question that they have to decide, right? So does this guy have anything, first of all, that he can give us, especially with Katie being so tied up, not giving anything? I personally think that the reason why Katie is not going all out is because she wants Sigfredo there, and she wants Sigfredo to be part of her deal, and she just doesn't know how to say that. But I think that that's where she's going with all of this. I heard her say in the proffers, I want to talk to Sigfredo, and they didn't do it. They have to do it. I think they have to put them together on camera. They have to first talk to Sigfredo. They have to tell him, listen, you have an opportunity here. We're going to give you an opportunity to at least get a small reduction for yourself, but maybe get Katie to get a much better reduction. But you guys, both, you have to tell the truth. At a very minimum, Sigfredo, even if you still want to be the tough guy in prison, even if you know you're going to be in prison most of your life and you want to maintain your reputation, can you at least, at a very minimum, go with us, meet with Katie on camera, and just tell her, please tell everything. I don't care. Say everything you know. And I think that if they do that, it might work. I think it might work. So, all right, guys. We don't know yet where Donna was going to apply to. I'm going to get off of my live on Mentor Lawyer Justice Network right now. So if you're there, you can switch to Deep Dive True Crime. Thank you so much for being there. but I want to make the two videos different, so I'm going to keep one longer. So I'm getting out of Mentor Lawyer Justice at Work. So if you want to continue here, just come over to Deep Dive True Crime. Thank you. All right, so that's done. I have more than one channel. I have Deep Dive True Crime, and I have this channel, Mentor Lawyer Justice Network. So that's two channels. Yeah, Holland and Knight. There's a connection, by the way. There's a connection to Holland and Knight in this case. And you get a bonus. You get a bonus if you tell me what the connection is. All right. Push-ups. Oh, Helen was watching the tennis. Helen was watching the tennis today. So Helen gets to be on the screen. So now you get to be on the screen if you answer this question. Because Mimi says, Holland and Knight, you better get to work on that, ML. And it's true. So what is the connection between Holland and Knight and this case? If you know that, then you're a deep diver into this channel and into the case of the murder of Dan Markel. What is the connection of the law firm Holland and Knight and this case? Does anybody know? Does anybody want a clue? We should all become French Bull fans, by the way. Yeah, he's a super cool guy. I like him a lot. Okay, you guys want a clue? I'm going to give you a clue. I've already published the full reading by an actress of the deposition of Wendi Adelson in the divorce back in 2013. And Wendi Adelson mentioned Holland and Knight during her deposition. In what capacity did she mention Holland and Knight? Let's see. Come on, somebody got to get this right. No, she did not get an offer from Holland and Knight. Good try, Nan. Good try, Nan. Anybody? Before I'm going to get done with this video today, I'm going to have to leave 1,000 of you, and I feel sorry for that. No, they're not her lawyers. They were not her lawyers. At least I don't think so. Maybe at the very end, Judkins may have been no, I don't think he was at Holland Knight. I don't think so. All right, last chance. And I'll tell you, this is the quiz show. Let's see who knows the case the best. And Helen already watched that. She just watched that. She just watched the video of my reading of the deposition. So Holland and Knight, anybody? All right, we have a winner. We have a winner. Yes. Brianna CC, you're the champ of the night. She was a clerk at Holland and Knight while in law school. Thanks, everybody. I better get to work. It's 2 hours. So we have a winner, and that's it. Is that why they're keeping Katie in Leon County? Oh, okay. I'm not sure why you're asking that, but was then rejected. No, that's not the reason. So Brianna got her right. Brianna got her right. She's the champ. Let me put her back. Here we go. She was a law clerk at Holland and Knight, Wendi Adelson. All right, guys. Thanks, everybody. So that's the law firm that I'm going against right now. I'm supposed to draft this answer to an amended complaint. That will definitely take several hours. So it looks like I'm not going to get much sleep tonight. And neither will Donna Adelson, I'm sure. Or maybe she will. Maybe finally all that stress and fear of the arrest is gone. And now she will finally face the music. And maybe that in itself is some form of relief, right? They got me. I don't know. Is it a relief? Maybe. What do you think? Let me know. Thanks for watching, everybody. And thank you so very much, everybody who donated. Shannon, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Sometime Alias donated. Thank you so much, Sometime Alias. Ryan Sam, thank you so much. Nan, thank you so very much, Nan. Thank you so much, Molly. Thank you so much, Mother B. Thank you so much, Gerard. Gerard. Is there a book? John Smith, thank you so much. Twice. Oh, cool. Thank you. All right, guys. I'm going to go. Thanks for watching. Until next time, yours truly, Mentor Lawyer. Good night to you. Not such a good night for Donna. Bye-bye.